Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I am Joe.
I am Caleb.
And today, ladies and gents, we are going to be discussing the famous and oh so beloved Final Fantasy 15, The Dawn of the Future book. And we are so excited to get into it. You know what, Schweiss, I almost went, but before we get to any of that, what has everyone been playing this week?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's where my brain decided that's where I was headed, and then I had to, course correct. Instead, I would just blab it here. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, guys, welcome back. It hasn't been that long. You know, we went 3 months without an episode, and now we're only just a couple weeks from our last one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. It's good to be back in the groove. I mean, all it took was another child and then time off, so.
Yeah, so congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Pretty exciting. There'll be no Sapiens episode this time.
No, not this time.
Because I was reading this. This is the equivalent, I guess. This is like Sapiens 2.
It's almost as good.
Yeah, it's pretty close, you know. It's definitely got a
pretty
more
close.
positive ending, that's for sure. Happy ending. I don't know if I'd say positive per se, but definitely happy.
Whether or not your reaction will be positive, we'll get into
exactly.
it, I guess.
Definitely better than we're probably all fucked. Have a good night, guys. At the end of Sapiens, but yeah, no, it's been good. I feel like when I was trading off, trying to balance the two shows, Nude Clan and Ultima, I was doing an awful job because I was working so much. So I'm really hoping in the next month that I have off, I have 3.5 more weeks off, we could do some good progress on the Mana series because I want to be done. I'd like to be done with Mana by the time the new 14 expansion comes out. And that's kind of lofty, but the last two, I think, are DS games. So I'm not too worried about those because both of us could play those at work and stuff.
Yeah, speaking of Mana, Legend of Mana, just a remake or a HD remaster was just announced to be coming out 3 months after we'll be done with the game, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because we should be done with that game in April-ish, I think. Should everything kind of go the way it normally does. And, that comes out in June, I think. I think it's late June. The Legend of Mana remaster. Just in time for us not to be able to play it.
Yeah. I feel
we're going to be playing the old version.
See, I think Square likes to punish us is really what it is. And then they, because the same thing happened with Chocobo's Dungeon. It came out mere months after we got to the game the first time. And I beat it again, like a sick bastard. I beat it again. In the same year, so I didn't even get to count it in our Hog League for Nude Clan. It was just a nothing. I just did it for me, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why.
Yeah, you just did it for you, because I certainly wouldn't replay that fucking thing.
Tell you what, it was still hard the second time. I still got my ass handed to me numerous times, because it's just evil. It's just an evil game. So that one came out. That fucking Turks, the Kids Are Alright book came out. I feel like it's been a while since the actual translation of it. No offense to the guys over at Livestream. I'm hoping it's just a rough translation that makes that book as bad as it is. But I don't really want to find out, I don't want to give them money for that thing.
Yeah. So not only that book, but also the Final Fantasy 13 stuff.
Yes.
Those books.
Yes, again.
Yep.
Again,
those books came out just a few months after we were done.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the cease and desist letter. It's we've already ceased. I mean, we have nothing left to steal from you. But I
guess I'll take down my audio version of the old fan translation.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And then we had the Mana game, the other Mana game that came out. I think it was the second one because the first one was Adventure.
Oh yeah, Secret of Mana and Trial of Mana. they had remakes that came out.
I know at least Secret did. I think Trials did too. Yeah, it did. So those two, shit, I don't know, man. Maybe they're
just in time.
I know, just in time to not be reviewed by us.
Yeah, we're just gonna play the old versions because we don't want to slow down, bruh. I looked at our game list and I'm like, we're getting along here.
I know. I know.
Even though we're not really. We got quite a few like 40-hour games left.
Oh, I thought you were saying we hate each other. That's why we're not getting along.
I mean, that's true too.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, we're making good progress. There was one mana game I accidentally didn't have on the list. I had to add that Heroes of Mana.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna be back in the swing of things. I'm pretty excited. It's I wonder if we're just gonna get like a new release of a Final Fantasy thing in between each mana game and just make the mana series section of our show just take forever. That's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, that is true.
So anyways, guys, let's get into Dawn of the Future, Final Fantasy 15. It is a novel follow-up to Final Fantasy 15. It's written by Jun Eishima, based on their plans, I guess. It's based on their draft of the Final Fantasy 15 DLCs that they were going to put out. And when Tabata quit, they decided they were just going to stop and focus on new stuff. So it's actually one of the few books that's ever come out, one of the few spin-off books that's ever come out here in the States legally and quickly. Because I guess the Square Enix now has a deal with Penguin Random House. And so they're putting out all these books, which is, I guess, why we're getting all these real translations, real professional translations.
Yeah.
As we are.
Yeah, it's nice. I will say before we potentially rip this a new asshole, I will say it is nice to have a professionally written book for the series.
It is. It's one of the highlights.
Yeah.
Having gone through every single tie-in book that has now been published after we got to it, it's finally good to get to one that doesn't have like fuckery in the writing, and is professional.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like great prose or anything, but it's professionally written. Someone went through it and edited it, and I only found one spot where there might have been a typo, and
yeah,
that's about it.
I found one where it was like a serious grammar problem, and it's actually kind of funny when they said it. But yeah, no,
we might have found the same one. I just can't remember what it was.
It's well written at the very least. I mean, it's not like like you said, it doesn't have good prose. It's written like a video game DLC. Honestly, it really is. Like, it almost plays, which is weird to say, and even weirder to experience while you're reading it. But like, there's parts where it's like, ooh, and then some of the guards she could sneak past, and other ones she had to like take out with a double kill. And you're like, oh man, I can see it. It's like, man, this was totally a game before, and then they said, fuck it. It's a book. Describing it's someone watching the gameplay, describing it in words. It's pretty much what it is.
Do you want to hear the official description of the book, which I'd never read before opening up the Wikipedia page?
Yes, please do. Please read it.
To oppose the gods or yield to fate. That is the question confronting each of the characters in the Dawn of the Future. Arden, having saved countless lives from the Star Scourge, means to become the founder king of Lucius, and instead is cast into tragic exile. On the day the Empire falls, as the Imperial capital collapses around them, Commodore Aranea is entrusted with the life of a singular young girl. The Oracle Luna Freya, sorry guys, upon awaking from the slumber of death, I'm in the middle of a migraine right now, so just be nice to me, discovers that her body has undergone an extraordinary transformation. And after gazing upon the eternal, Noctis, the true king, finally comes to terms with his destiny. Herein lies the stories of the dawning of a new world in Final Fantasy 15.
Yep.
So if we had read that before, I guess I wouldn't have been as surprised, but I kind of wasn't because someone gave it away in the Discord chat about this thing. But yeah, this isn't really a sequel to Final Fantasy 15 in as much as it is a alternate universe version of Final Fantasy 15.
Is it though? Is it canonized? I mean, that's the question.
It is canonized as an alternate ending.
That's bullshit. That's half-assery.
I'm much more okay with that than it being like officially canonized.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And like they could have fucked it up as much as they did with Final Fantasy VII's, different tellings of how Shinra got out of the fucking building.
Well, those were fun.
If you read those books, you get two different ones. One of which, of course, is the fun slide.
Yeah.
As the building blows up in Final Fantasy VII.
You hear the explosions and just woo.
I want to hear like the whistle as it goes. It's like,
and he just comes flying off, holding on to the little like fucking water raft, like woo! Building's just exploding. Yeah! Oh my god! I can't believe that worked.
Oh, for the 5 people who read that book,
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
and I wonder if they changed it for their official translation. That's also something I wonder. Like maybe they fixed it. Maybe they like made it match with the other one.
Yeah. Well, they certainly can't make it match with the original game where he just gets blasted to hell. But
I mean, this book doesn't match whatsoever.
Yeah.
At a certain point, because we saw what happened in the game, and that's not what happens in this book. So there are 4 chapters. They're like 100-page chapters. And one of them is A Savior Lost, which is Arden's story, mainly. One of them is The Beginning of the End, which is Aranea's story. One of them is Choosing Freedom, which is Luna Freya's story.
Yeah.
And then one of them is, the final one is kind of a few people's, but I guess it's mostly Noctis' story, entitled The Final Glaive. And it is going in chronological order. And what these 4 stories are, as we said before, it was like planned DLC. And one of the DLC they actually did make.
Yeah.
It was the final DLC, and it was episode Arden.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was that episode Arden was setting up an alternate ending for the fucking game. Because it seemed like it tied into the version we got pretty well. But apparently Arden defying his fate is what sets off everything else.
Yeah.
So at the end of this chapter.
Yeah, so before we get into that, though, the story synopsis mentions Jared twice. Just want to point that out. I don't know why the fuck they're so obsessed with Jared, but, like, seriously, like, I'm reading the synopsis, and it's like, Jared, blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, come on, what do you put him in there? Like, his son is not even that important. All his son is, or his grandson is a fucking catch me up after 10 years of quiet. We got to release this fucking game or people are going to riot. So pump it out. Give this.
Did you get the alternate version with episode Jared in it?
I think I did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That
was like $150.
Yeah, his last name is Hester, so
came with the soundtrack.
The end of the game should be like, get off my chair, Hester. It's just fucking Jared sitting up there. You know, Talcott risked his life to come pick you up in that truck, and I don't want to hear your ingratitude. This place is mine now.
Yeah, Jared defies his fate of being dead.
Yeah. Fuck this.
Not the first time.
If everyone's coming back to life, I'm coming back, and I'm taking this shithole over.
Yes. So the first chapter is just episode Arden, which we covered before. It's just a book version of it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I actually really liked this one just because the way they tell it. Okay, when I say really like, I like the inner monologue of Arden. I feel like episode Arden itself kind of sped along a little fast, because it went from him being this mopey, like angsty guy and not wanting to participate in anything to him just like, all right, fine, I'll kill everybody, kind of a thing, like really fast. And in the book, as with books,
you get into his head
Yeah.
while he's in
yeah,
Angel Guard.
and it doesn't really. That kind of shit doesn't translate very well for games necessarily. They could have done like a cutscene where it's just him like building up rage over the years, like thinking back on things and like twisting what happened and all that, but we didn't get that. And so I think the book aspect of it kind of helped us appreciate Arden a little bit more, as far as his actual development and his descent into madness. So I like that about the episode Arden book form, which is essentially what it is. It even plays.
Yeah.
It even reads like the game, though. I swear to God, like I could see myself playing it. I
it's the same writer.
yeah, and I just threw on that sweet. Got a kingdom over here. Got a king throwing his kingdom.
Oh,
I threw that song on. I was just like, yeah, this is the same thing.
you threw that song on?
Yeah, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
What is it called again? It's something to hate, Condition to Hate.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey Alexa, play Condition to Hate. She can't find it. No one could find it.
Yeah, lame.
It's bullshit. I don't believe you whatsoever, Schweiss.
It exists online.
It does exist. Unfortunately, it does exist. And oh my God, in the back of the book, there's a whole bunch of artwork. And I read through all like the little things underneath the artwork because I wanted to see what kind of clues it has. And one of them has like a picture of Arden like going crazy, right? And he's doing some violence, and he's like in a still frame. And in the description below, it was like, the song Condition to Hate goes perfectly along with this image.
Yeah.
Let me fucking find it. Let me grab that fucking book. Hold on, guys.
Oh, you should have asked me, man. I got it right here.
I actually have the book in front of me now.
We actually read it.
So let me just... I did actually read it, believe it or not. I read it with my own eyes. Let me see if I can find that fucking thing. Sorry, this is bad pod. Say something.
Yeah. We were doing an audio version of it. You were for a little bit, but...
I was, and I realized working as much as I am right now, I get real fucking tired at the end of the day. And although I have enough energy to read the book while I'm at work...
Yeah.
Kind of in my downtime, when I actually get home and it's like time to slow down, time to go to bed, I really don't want to read the book out loud. So sorry, guys. I eventually ended up abandoning it. I only did 2 parts. Okay. Arden on the loose amidst the chaos of insomnia. Appropriately, the name of this piece, talking about the art piece, is Condition to Hate, a title which it shares with the battle theme that plays during the assault on Insomnia during episode Arden. The theme is a perfect musical companion to this particular piece of art.
I guess. I mean, it does... It does say exactly what's happening. But I don't know if I would say that's a perfect piece of music as much as this is manufactured to match beat by beat exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and it's perfect if you want to undercut how cool the piece of art is.
Yeah, because that
with something silly.
Because that episode was pretty fun to play, but man, that part is like the bulk of the game. If you take out all the kings, and that song really sucks, so it's really annoying to play that.
Let's add on top of that. Schweiss, it actually makes it better because you get the joy of playing the gameplay while you're laughing at the musical score in the background. It's just all euphoric feelings all at once.
Everything positive.
Everything positive.
And then when you sit down at the park bench, you laugh even harder because then it's just fucking elevator music, and you realize just how good you had it when elevator music was playing in the elevator.
You're missing that Monster of the Deep kind of vibe.
Yeah,
something relaxing.
The chill soundtrack of Monster of the Deep.
Yeah. So yeah, it basically ends with him doing his damage at the end of that game, and then he talks to Bahamut, and apparently that's what changes the rest of it, according to the Wikipedia page. But I did not get that when I read the book. I was just
well, the hard thing is, we played the
he's got to die no matter what.
Yeah. Well, we played the DLC, and it didn't change it in the DLC. So this is one of those, like, retcons that doesn't necessarily wreck the previous bit. I mean, it does wreck it, like, in our minds, and it ruins it in a lot of ways. But it
Spoilers.
It takes what we have, and it doesn't necessarily alter what we have, except for at the very end. I wrote some notes down for the last one that it did kind of alter it as far as I remembered. But for the most part, I mean, when I finished the episode Arden, I didn't feel like there were any major story points that were changing. I just thought that this is what happened years ago, and it was what set everything in motion. That's
exactly what I thought.
Which I thought was the point.
And I didn't really see that as like, oh, he defied his fate against Bahamut, therefore, and spoilers, guys, therefore Bahamut is going to resurrect Luna Freya in order to get the job done.
Oh, you didn't think that?
No,
that's because
I didn't get that at all.
That's because you're stupid. You think it's small. Small think.
I didn't get that at all. I was just like, okay. Where I thought the book changed things was when Luna Freya woke up. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, so in this alternate version of 15, Luna Freya's alive, and Noctis sees her in the throne room later on.
Yeah.
Which is insanity. But when I was reading the Wikipedia thing, it was like, to get ready for this episode, it was like, when he defies his fate against Bahamut, that's what changes the rest of it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. He doesn't.
Is that really what happened?
Because he doesn't defy
It's not very clear in the version we got. Unless they, like, subtly changed it. Maybe it would have been more clear if they knew they were going to put out the rest of the DLCs.
I mean, it doesn't not work, is the thing. And that's why it's an annoying retcon. Because it does, all the pieces still fit for the most part. So, like, but it didn't tell us that, but it would have told us that later with the other DLCs is kind of the idea.
Sure.
But.
So, yeah, I had a totally different version of, like, what this was in my head when I thought it was canon versus what I know now is that it's just an alternate ending DLC. Because when I thought it was canon, I was, like, putting pieces together that, like, I don't think they were there.
Yeah.
And I guess I can get into that now. Who cares? This is a non-linear review. When Noctis was talking about being in the crystal and seeing his future and, like, what would happen or what needs to happen, that's when I was thinking, like, oh, is that the book telling me that, like, what we saw in 15 with the amazing ending that it has, that was just a vision in the crystal and that this is the reality? That's what I made up in my mind.
Well, let me read the line word for word here because I wrote it down because it was an important thing, and I was like, man, maybe I'll ponder over this, and then I just went to bed instead. So this is during Noctis witnessing his death when he's trapped at Engelgard in the crystal, essentially. So before the Chosen unfurls one possibility, to mortal mind a dream. Though man would choose, he has but one way forward. Ordained above is mortal fate. To the crystal, all possibility is memory, and all memory is etched within. So basically it says it doesn't matter. That's a fancy way of saying, choose your own adventure, prick. Choose it, you little bastard. What do you want to do? And it's like, seriously, because it says at the very end there, to the crystal, all possibility is memory, and all memory is etched within. So the crystal holds all memory, but all possible outcomes count as memories. So in a way, it's basically saying that the real ending is a possibility, therefore it is true. This ending is a possibility, therefore it is true. It really does leave it open to whatever the fuck you want, which is kind of the ultimate ending for Final Fantasy 15, because it's like, I don't know, what do you want it to be? We don't know.
We don't know what to do with the game anymore. What do you want? I can underline that with a passage from the book.
Yeah. What do you want it to be? It's whatever you want. Let's
see if I can find the fucking thing.
It's Hamlet, but you choose what happens to him at the end. God, really though, like they had honestly, I think what happened to 15 is that it got away from him. I think it is a really cool idea, and it's a really big idea, but they didn't give it the time they needed, which to me means they either weren't thinking about this the whole time, and then suddenly at the last minute they tried to make some like cool, like twisted Hamlet, and then they fucked it up, or they thought about it for way too long. Yeah, look at that picture. They thought about it for way too long, and then they fucked it up because they were thinking about it too long, and then they just said, we have to put something out, and then blah.
Okay. Ready for this says a lot of things that aren't written in this explicitly. I know some of our listeners, and God love you all, are a little bit illiterate. So hold on here. let me get to this. When planning the new DLC, so not when planning the game. That's what that means. Not when planning the original game.
Yeah.
When planning the new DLC. The new DLC. So the old DLC was already pre-planned. It already went with the game. We know that it goes with the game. There are specific times when those three characters leave and then they come back, right?
Right.
So we know they were planning the first 3 DLC all along. That's what we can decipher from that, just that half sentence.
Yeah, we could even argue
there.
episode Arden as well.
Yes. Maybe. When they were planning the new DLC, the development team began by asking themselves what kind of conclusions the fans of FF15 might want to see.
Don't ever do that. You'd never ask yourself, what do the fans want? You say, no, they're fans. They will eat whatever we give them. Here's your dinner. And then ring that fucking dinner bell, and they'll come. That is, oh man. So first off, the first sentence of that should have been. It should have been when looking at the planning of the previous DLCs, we got really high, and then we asked, what would the fans want?
I think it's just clear that like Square Enix was like, well, we actually made a lot of money on those DLCs, so we need you to make some more. And then they were like, we don't know what the fuck to do. And now we don't have any of this information. Now Tabata goes, I hate this. I hate working for Square Enix and making DLC to this game over and over again. I already fixed it so that the fucking thing would actually come out and Square would actually have a product. But, now they're just like enslaving me on these DLCs, which I don't want to do. Now I'm going to quit. And then without Tabata, the development team's like, oh, fuck. All right, let's just put out a book, I guess.
Yeah, put out a book and, I don't know, put a bunch of pictures that are coasters at the end and don't actually make them coaster size so no one can cut them out, but they can think about.
It's actually a pretty good package. Like, the book itself is a pretty good package.
I like the physical look of the book. It's pretty cool.
Physical printing of the book. It's got good paper.
Yeah, no.
It's got a good cover. You take the cover off, it's the same color cover. It's just like reverse.
Yeah. The only thing that just
it's a beautiful cover.
The only thing that bothered me is I turned it over and I was like, Noctis and Luna married. Oh, that doesn't bode well. I was like, this is gonna be bad.
Okay. Episode 2 is episode Aranea. Still on board for the book during this chapter.
Yeah.
Although it is a bit like kind of linear, and you could definitely. This was the chapter that felt like like battle oriented DLC.
Yeah.
She's fighting. She's in the what city is he in? What is she in? It's Niflheim.
Yes.
I think. And Arden is coming down on them, and the Empire Aldercapt is dead, and it's all turning into chaos. And there's a weapon. It's either diamond or sapphire weapon is out.
Yeah, it's
there.
one of the Pokemon games.
Weapon.
It's one of the Pokemon games.
Yeah. So they brought Diamond Weapon back. She's got to fight Diamond Weapon, and then she's introduced like there's a bunch of kids that have to flee the city as it's like being destroyed by the weapon. She's got to fight off Diamond Weapon and then save a little girl named Soul, or that she named Soul. I'm not quite sure how that works out.
It's a little girl. Yeah, that's her name.
And she basically becomes the adopted. She adopts the girl later on. So that's all that really that story's about. It's kind of the minor story in the whole book. It has almost nothing to do with the rest of it except that it introduces the character Soul.
Yeah.
Who is important in episode Luna Freya.
Well, what I really liked about this episode, and this is what I like about the book overall, honestly, and this is why I think they had a really good idea, and there's a lot of good things. And this is kind of how I felt about 15 all along. There's a lot of good in there, but there's a lot of not great execution of the good. And this is more evidence of that for the game, because in this one we get a lot of backdrop for Niflheim, because we don't really know anything about Niflheim other than the fact that they're on the rampage. They're just feudal Japan, just going nuts. Or I guess I would say even more like Germany, because they're actually, taking shit over. And they're conquering.
Oh, yeah, like Japan didn't take over?
No.
The Philippines and the entirety of the Pacific
nobody.
Ocean, except for Hawaii.
Everyone knows the only ocean worth its salt is the Gulf of Mexico, okay?
Worth its salt. That's good. That's good when you're talking about ocean stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking? And, half of China.
Oh, please. They should have taken it all.
It's like people forget the empire of Japan.
It was a pretty big deal.
Was massive.
I'm thinking more World War II, though.
That is World War II. What are you talking about? They took the Philippines from us.
You know what? I guess that is pretty impressive. But they're more of like it really is a Germany situation where for a long time this was a good place, like everyone really liked it. She was proud to be a citizen of that place. And then suddenly the king, his wife dies in childbirth, and then his only heir dies like on the battlefield. And
he dies in battle.
Yeah, and she talks about how Aeolus was like a great emperor and was famed. He was like famed for his level-headedness and his like. He was a really good ruler, apparently. And this is something that didn't really come across in 15. In 15, he was just like this douche. And it's like, why?
No, and it's worse with the added scenes, of course. But
yeah,
yes.
And it's like, why is Regis even meeting with this guy? This guy's an asshole. Like, he says he wants to do peace, but obviously he doesn't want to. And this really brings that back to like, well, I can see why he would think that maybe he was trying to make peace, because he used to be a pretty good guy. And they had a really good social fabric in that kingdom, as far as what RNA was saying. And I really like that kind of stuff, because it makes the plight of the characters that much more meaningful. It makes it meaningful that like all the events of 15 happening around, like Noctis getting rescued by his father, but his father leaving.
It's more of a three-dimensional view of that empire.
Yeah, instead of just empire bad, which is
as a culture.
Yeah, which empire bad
internally
is what stupid people go to, because it's like, I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah, but there's a hell of a lot of benefits to it. And now we get to see some of that instead of just empire bad, this man bad, he empire. And I really like that.
Yeah. Final Fantasy has a history, of course, the good guys being not in the empire.
Yeah.
Usually. And like the emperor is usually like the one of the main baddies. Sometimes, of course, mind controlled by other forces. but yeah, the empire chasing thing has been and 15 doesn't do that. It has an evil empire, but it doesn't make him the main center, which is nice.
Yeah,
'cause most of them do.
It's really it's really barely involved.
Even things like Galbadia and stuff in Final Fantasy VIII, like there's always some sort of like political conflict going on, or war conflict going on top of like world-ending conflict with some other bad force.
Yeah.
And 15 has that, but doesn't focus on it in the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, this does give us a little bit of an insight into not only that, a little bit into the character of Arnea. I still think Arnea is just lightning in different clothes.
She is. She's not PMSing as hard as lightning, but yeah.
Well, she's not a lassie.
She's also not as old. No, I'm kidding. I don't know how old she is. But no, I don't know. I this one was cool, but it definitely is the one that feels.
I thought it was all right.
It feels the most like a game. One of the other things that is revealed here is that Sol is actually the Emperor's granddaughter of his deceased son. It was an illegitimate child.
Oh yeah. Oh, thanks for reminding me of that. I forgot.
And at this point, I thought maybe she was going to be the new Oracle.
It doesn't tie into anything, and it doesn't mean anything.
Not really. All it ends up being is, "Hey, Luna, are you going to be bitter or no?" And it's like, no. Okay, well, that was dumb. But she, there's a cool scene with her and this fucking rando dude that I think might have been in the game as a rando dude as well. And she kind of fights him for a second, and then they kind of like laugh it off because Aranea basically says "fuck you" to Arden in this one, which is pretty cool. And she tells him she quits, and then like 5 minutes later, she's fighting with one of her like generals, and then he's like, just kidding, I can't fight you, but really, you got to get this girl out of here. And then it's this Loki guy. I feel like he's in the game. He's like that cheesy guy that you fight early on that's in the mech suit. I feel like that might be who that is. I don't care enough to look it up, but I guess you could. I feel like that is that guy.
Oh, you hear me typing or something?
Yeah. But they...
No, I don't recognize this guy's face.
Yeah. I don't remember it. Could be.
You might be right. He's standing on some sort of a... Yeah, there's a boss fight. Yeah, I think you're right. It's that guy.
Okay. It's so unmemorable.
Way to go, Schweiss. You got it. It's so unmemorable, yet you remember it. I'm surprised. Your memory is so much better than mine. I don't know if people have like realized that while we've gone through this fucking podcast, but I'm usually just like scrambling to try to remember things that weren't important to me, but somehow you always remember the shit.
Yeah. Creditol is screaming right now. He's like, no, he doesn't.
I know. It's because Creditol's memory is a photographic memory.
You're both idiots.
Pretty sure.
Idiots. He just threw his phone out of the car and it got ran over.
He's not the only person who said I was totally wrong about Shadowbringer's plot synopsis, which I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Whatever.
That's all I got.
We got a funny review, speaking of that was like the best, worst Shadowbringers review of all time. They gave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And I was like, nice. I don't know how to feel about that, but hey. Whatever. But yeah, I like this one. You get to see the Empire like turn into a dictatorship and like really everything get locked down and all the fun gets sucked out of life in this place. And then you get like I would say a touching end to the Loki guy and Aranea, but I don't really care about him, so it's not touching at all. And he basically sacrifices himself, and Diamond Weapon is on the move, and Aranea follows it, saves everybody, destroys Diamond Weapon, and it ends kind of the same way it began. It began with her like eating popcorn, which is really weird, and bitching about how like nasty it was, and then it ends with her becoming a mom making a casserole, which I was like, huh.
She used the popcorn.
That's a weird look. Like, Aranea is the mom. I mean, then I thought like, man, what if she had like a French maid outfit on? And then I was like, nice. Aranea is the mom.
You don't like her looking like Gigan in her dragoon suit?
I mean, I would try to... I'm afraid I'd try to touch
like
her.
Gigan with cleavage?
Yeah. I'm afraid I'd try to touch her and lose like a finger. Like, oh, hey, babe. Oh, my God. I've got like 3 fingers on the floor.
My thing is like that giant horn sticking out of her fucking head is like she can't go through a doorway with that shit. Like she can't be charging for the bad guys in the room, with the hostage situation. She's gonna hit her head and she's going through the doorway.
Yeah.
Get yanked back by the ceiling.
Can you imagine how awesome it would be though if she like charged through with the horn down and she's just like screaming like ah! She like runs a guy through and just picks him up and he's like, holy shit. He's sliding down her.
She's the rhinoceros powers.
Yeah. She's fucking just skewering. She's fighting with this guy like slowly dying on the top of her fucking helmet. And just getting skewered.
It'd be great if she like skewered him and then like flicked him,
Yeah.
like whipped her head around so that he would like fly off and hit someone else.
Yeah. She's got like a fucking bull's neck. It's just freakish. She's got a real tiny head, but like a neck that's like 4 men's neck thick. Just fucking.
Oh my god!
This is for my chucking power. Yeah.
Seriously though, look up Gigan if you don't know that the monster Godzilla fights. It's pretty hilarious. All right. I was trying to when I was looking at the art book, I was like, I forgot that it looks like that when she's fully suited up. And then I had a second there where I'm like, what the fuck does that remind me of? What does that look like? And Godzilla podcast, wheels start turning in my head, and I was like, fucking Gigan! That's exactly what she looks like.
Yeah, it's just
so you're welcome.
Crazy.
Mecha chicken with a giant horn on his head. All right. Part 3. The second half of the book is very different from the first half. Because we skip everything in the first half was before the events of Final Fantasy 15. Everything in the second half is after the events. Or is in the end of, timeline-wise, is in the end of Final Fantasy 15. And Chapter 3 opens up with a certain character that should definitely not be alive.
Yeah.
And that character is Luna Freya. And she did, in fact, die. And she wakes up in, a crypt of some kind, which has, a bunch of, what was it, dead flowers and stuff there?
Yeah,
Do you remember
there was
that?
there was a bunch of dead flowers that had been there for a while, and so it's kind of hinting that this is really far into the future. And she finds a news article that's basically puts her at 5 years or some shit, 3 years out from when she died. So she's kind of freaking out. We did get a flashback in the very beginning of this, and I wrote down flashback to the very moment her brother first got a stick shoved up his ass. So he was kind of a pissy little dude, and I guess it makes sense, I suppose, because he's really mad because when the king was evacuating, when they were recovering from the fucking thing that killed his mom and almost killed Noctis, they were recovering in Tenebrae, and Tenebrae got attacked by Niflheim, and then the king left with Noctis, and then that's when the stick was eternally shoved up her brother's ass. Which, I don't know. I feel like that guy still bothers me. I want to like Ravis, but he's just annoying to me. I don't know. But
You want to like him? I don't like him at all.
I don't know. I want him to be I don't know, a cool Jaime Lannister character, but he's just not at all. He's just a dick. He has
No, and his story is so poorly told in every version of this game.
Yeah, and he dies by getting his fake arm cut off. Bullshit, he's faking it. He just didn't want to play anymore. But, yeah,
they almost, in the art book, they do give away that Soul, the character we will meet in a second again, was going to have a mechanical Luke Skywalker arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody's just losing limbs in this fucking game.
Yeah, man.
That's what they were thinking anyway, but I guess they returned Soul's arm to her rightful place.
Yeah. So it starts out with her drowning and having all these visions and shit like that, and then she gets pulled out. She realizes that the stab wound is still there. She's super fucked up. She forgot how to walk. She knows it's been a while, and then she gets jumped by a demon. And then
she finds out she's fucking immortal.
Yeah, pretty much. So she runs into this motorcyclist who helps her.
In the world of darkness, she doesn't really know what's going on there.
Yeah. And then they tag team this demon down, and she gets hammered by this thing, and she ends up curing herself right back up, just like Arden does, and she ends up also fighting the demon in a weird way. This might be a later fight, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
There's multiple demons.
Then she realizes she's been dead for 10 years. So this is happening right before Noctis wakes up. So everything is 10 years ago and then today, pretty much in this story. It's nothing happens for a decade. No need to catch anybody up other than a ride from Talcott. I was surprised it wasn't Talcott that picked her up. I was like, fuck it. He's just the guy, He's
just driving around looking for people to pick up.
Yeah, he's got that Uber app pulled up, and he's like, man, Golden Key is just a hot spot for random people that I thought were dead for a really long time.
The crystal's just spitting out people. The crystal's filled up.
Yeah, the crystals.
It needs to be putting people back out into the world.
Yeah, they're running out of. There's a housing crisis in the crystal. People are getting booted.
It's time for you to go back.
Yeah.
It's Bahamut. Your lease is up.
I don't want to renew. I don't like you.
It's true. It seems to be true. Definitely, as we read this thing. So yeah, the next this was kind of a boring chapter though. It's mostly a road trip with two people that don't trust each other until they finally become friends.
Yeah. You get Cindy over the phone fixing stuff, which is pretty crazy. We get a nice little Bahamut dream for Luna later on, and she sees Noctis's fate at the hands of the Ring of the Lucii. So that's the original ending, essentially. The bike's name is Regina. That's a very important. Not really, but
yeah, it was. They kept on calling it Regina, and I was like, really? You guys are gonna keep on going with this? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the line. This is the line, by the way. And this is what Soul says. It's an ironclad rule amongst hunters, apparently. No travel faster than the slowest member of the group. And to me, I don't know why, that sentence just seems weird. Like, no travel faster. Like, don't travel faster than the slowest member of the group. No traveling faster than the slowest member of the group. And like,
no travel faster.
And it's like, yeah, I'm like, sure, maybe that's an ironclad rule amongst hunters when Outhouse Dave is running the show, that fucking guy from the game. He's like, no travel faster than the slowest member of the group. Remember, always remember. Also,
no travel.
I gotta go take a shit. Like, seriously, I was like dying at that. I read it like 8 times.
That might have been it.
I read it like...
That might have been the line I had problem with.
I read it like 8 times, and I was like, is this right? Like, it's almost right. But it's like, fucky at the same time. It bugged me.
No, it'd be don't travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the ironclad rule. I was like, and then I wrote down, you're the talk of the town, thanks to that grammar. Hey, Dave, you're the talk of the town, thanks to that grammar.
I like how there was a problem every paragraph of the Final Fantasy X one and of Kids Are Alright. But we have to nitpick the fuck out of one typo in this whole fucking book.
Yeah. We're stretching. We're stretching.
It's just the nature of our show.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. Then she goes to confront Arden, right?
Before that, though, there's one little thing here. So Luna...
Oh, yeah, she gets stuck. She gets imprisoned almost, right?
Yeah, there's a moment where she figures out that she can cure things of the Star Scourge, but they like blow away like dust. And she's not sure if it's because they were dead when they got infected, if they were so long gone, like they've been infected for so long that their human form was dead or whatever. But she knows she can cure it in some way. She can remove it from the host, but she doesn't really know what that means. And then there's a good little line in here where, and this is what irritates me, where Soul is like going off about like, why don't you do what you want to do? Like, why don't you do what, makes you happy? And then she basically says that her goal as the Oracle isn't necessarily to be happy; it's to fulfill her duty. That was a good little line there, because like, that's not the Soul. She's kind of like, she's one of those people that just wants to like enjoy life. One of those losers.
I know, one of those people.
But like,
fuck those people.
But like, she doesn't really have any sense of like duty or like something that some higher purpose that she aspires to. It's just kind of flippantly do whatever you want. And she kind of came back and smacked her. It doesn't matter in the end, because she just does whatever she wants in the end. So,
Yeah, you were right, Soul.
Yeah, you were right. Let's be shitty. But I get it. So, but whatever.
I don't think she's being shitty in this.
I don't think so.
Context.
But Bahamut, there's another dream where Bahamut like is trying to shut Gentiana up because Gentiana's trying to warn her about something. And she wants to reunite with Aranea and the boys, the Biggs and Wedge, because they're like on some dangerous mission, and they're like She gets like some transmission or some shit from them, and they're basically gonna
Oh,
die.
it's the weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they freak out because Lunafreya is not supposed to be alive, and then Lunafreya is like whatever town they were in, whatever ruins they were in, and then Lunafreya kind of, or Soul, was it Soul or Arnea that sneaks Lunafreya out of there? I'm trying to remember.
It's Arnea.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is Arnea. Okay. So then
they get their own weapons. So this is the boss fight of the DLC. Each DLC has to have a big boy boss fight, and this one is Sapphire weapon. And Arnea basically told the guys, Biggs and Wedge, to seal her in with the weapon because it's too strong to be let out. And then they go down there, they fight it, and Arnea has been turned into a demon, and she starts like trying to kill. She starts like freaking out basically, and she still has a little bit of herself left. And Luna cures her. Arnea freaks out and like tries to kill Luna, thinking she's some demon, because she's like the more of the shit that she absorbs, the more like demonified she looks. So the longer it goes on, just the more like fucked up Luna is. And so like Arnea comes to, and she has no idea where she is or like what's happened, and then she just sees this beast and then like cuts it down. They have this weird conversation. For some reason, Ignis is there. Like a bunch of the guys out there talking about what to do with her.
Well, they're out being hunters, brah.
Yeah.
Might as well be there.
It's right. Might as well. So they want to kill her, basically. And then Gentiana comes and warns her that Bahamut is going to use her to gain power
she's a demon.
for Terraflare. And they do think she's a demon. So he's going to use her like the black materia, essentially, in 7. And
yeah, this is just a meteor again.
she's just a black soul, I guess, because it taints your soul, the fucking scourge. And they're going to use her to summon it, and then that's when they let her go. And there's an interesting line in there that kind of makes sense for Bahamut. There's a little line where it basically refers to the earth, or like humans as like plants from a garden, and that he just wants to pull a rotten plant out or like a weed or something like that, and that's how he views humanity. So he's so far removed from the people on the ground, essentially, that he views them as just part of the land and as a scourge on the land. So it's interesting because like out of all the gods, he's the one that's like not there. You know, he's always out in space or wherever the fuck he hangs.
It's in the crystal.
Yeah. But the other gods have a more intimate like relationship with humans, good or bad. And so they kind of, and like in the past, we know that they, in the original War of the Gods or whatever the hell their name is, they stopped Bahamut from destroying the earth by like banding together, essentially, and then Bahamut took a huge nap. And it's kind of like sowing the seeds for that here, and especially in the next one. But she, they let her go, and it's Soul and RNA, I guess, let her go, and then she heads for Insomnia, and Luna meets up with Arden in the throne room and asks for Arden's help, and that's where this ends.
Yeah, she asked for Arden's help instead of trying to kill him.
Yeah, because she was sent. She got another mission from Bahamut, which was to kill Arden. Basically, was to stop Arden's rampage.
Yeah, and that's Bahamut going, "Damn it! Another one said no to me."
Yeah.
In another DLC.
I'm tired of you people.
I'll see if the third one will. And of course, he does.
Yep.
Chapter 4 is Noctis, and he's being awakened, and he sees, the alternate, the alternate ending, the real ending.
Yeah.
Sees the real ending in the dream of the crystal. He knows what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, he also gets insight into Arden's like past, which I thought was really good for Noctis to see. Although it does make, it does take part in the changing of the ending, so I don't know if that's super true, but it's cool for him to like realize that this isn't just some bad guy. Like there's a reason why he does what he does.
Yeah, he dreams a lot in this one.
Yeah, a lot of sleeping.
Regis visits him in the dream. And he awakens. Oh yeah, Luna Freya was sending a note back to him. I forgot about that.
Yeah, like they have cell phones, but these guys like insist on having this dog deliver a note. It seems
The magical dog go find Noctis and hand him a note saying that she's alive.
I mean, I guess
Basically.
it's probably more secure. You can't hack in if you like send like a fucking nude pic via Umbra. Like you can't hack into it. There's not going to be any like, oh fuck, what's that website where you get like nudes that have leaked from celebrities? It's
Nudes that have leaked.
yeah, it's like Mr. Wank or something like that. It's some like
No, Mr. Skin.
Mr. Skin. That's what it is.
But that's not a leak site. That's just what you can look up an actress and see if she's been nude.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like that was one where like
I heard about it on. It's not 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's the second Judd Apatow. Oh, what is that movie? Knocked Up.
Oh yeah.
Where they were trying to make that website, and in the plot they're like, well, that sounds just like Mr. Skin. And they're like, what? Like they've been spending like years making this website. And Mr. Skin does turn out to be, it is a real website. If anybody wants to know if their favorite actresses have been topless in any sort of weird independent film out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's more secure via like magical dog than putting it out on the cloud. But I don't know. I don't see any dick pics. And honestly, my messages to Luna Freya were the most dickish ones possible last time. It was like the one-word replies. She'd give me this long, sprawling,
Coming.
like love letter. I'd be like, sounds good. But
Okay.
so we get the beginning part where like they get attacked by the Merilith. His mom dies. They visit Tenebrae to recover. That's where he meets Luna Freya. And it's one of those things. It's kind of an interesting point that I was thinking about when that happened. Like, there's always these there's always these things that happen. Like jobs that I've had in the past that like the last one I had before where I work now, I really hated near the end, and like I don't like the place at all. But like it's interesting because sometimes things that are really bad end up having good endings, because that's like where I met my wife and things like that. So that was what came to mind when I was reading that, is like it seems really shitty because your mom just died and like you're pretty wounded and you're like a little gimp kid now, but you did find this chick that you almost married before she was murdered. So that's good. That's good, right? That's positive.
Yeah, that's good.
Got to think of the positive.
You do, really.
So there's a lot of that in here, and
There's a lot of that. There is like Noctis seeing like he was kind of given the gift that Arden was, right? Like he sees a whole bunch of like the world and like what happened.
yeah, he sees basically everything.
Yeah. Including like Arden's past, which he's kind of thinking about. And I think, what happens then? He goes to confront Arden, and Luna Freya's there.
Yeah.
And Luna Freya like heals Ifrit when Arden like sends him out to do his bidding instead of what happens in the real game where you fight Ifrit. Like Luna Freya heals Ifrit. And it kind of cascades from there as a big like 1-by-1 fight thing until finally like Noctis is fighting some sort of, what is he sees like Somnus's face, right, in something.
Yeah, so I'll backtrack just a little bit.
Okay.
So Luna's alive and she meets up with Noctis at the Golden Key. And I wrote down Luna's going the path of Yuna in that awful 10.2.5 book. She kind of did a little bit, but not as bad. Noctis is kind of freaked out by her new powers, and Luna basically became a demon after saving Aranea. And this is where we get the part where Arden basically says he's willing to cooperate with Luna and offer to defy Bahamut. And Luna has like, she's bartering with Arden. This is kind of back and forth between Noctis and her. She's bartering with Arden, and he like appeals to her conversation with Era, which was her ancestor and Arden's lover back in the day. He like freaks out, and then he eventually relents because she kind of looks like her, is basically what it said. and sends Ifrit to like get her out of the way because he's getting too soft. And this is when she heals Ifrit. But then we get Noctis facing off against Kings of Old, and really all it was Somnus. And Somnus basically has some reflection here. He regrets his conflict with his brother, and he calls on Noctis to end him nonetheless, pretty much. And
then Noctis comes up with the brilliant idea after the book explains a whole bunch of lore.
Yeah.
Which my eyes just kind of like phased over. It's just like, all right, whatever happens to souls and Ring of Lucii and blah, blah, blah. And then Noctis, instead of, challenging Arden the way he does and putting on the ring himself and cutting off both their lines like he does in the real game, Noctis gives Arden the throne.
Yeah. He gives him
as like as repentance for Somnus.
Yeah, he gives him that sweet royal reparations.
Which pisses off Bahamut.
Extremely.
Although it makes Arden turn into a good guy all of a sudden. I didn't really totally get that, but the painting in the back of the book suggests that it does.
Yeah, it's more that he thinks he's going to get what he wants either way. But on one hand, he was saying that like his plan to just kill Noctis and all of that, and then the world gets destroyed is a pretty good one because that's basically what he wants. But then they sell him on the point that, well, we could actually kill Bahamut if we kill him in both the the fucking heaven and also on Earth. And that's basically what they talk him into doing. So he puts on the ring and gets taken out by the fucking the Kings of Lucius, which I don't know what to make of that, because when Noctis gets taken out by the Kings of Lucius, essentially what it is that it's your body and your, like, whatever it is that makes you, your soul, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's like they operate in different things, right? And Arden essentially is operating in this world and his soul is in the other world. So what doesn't make sense to me is, why would killing Arden with the Ring of Lucii bring him to the soul world? It doesn't make any sense, because every time he dies in this world, because the soul is disconnected from his body, he just comes back to life. So wouldn't he just come back to life?
I think it's because the Ring of Lucii is like a permanent transport system.
It's like a fucking turnkey.
Like I said, I saw the book just explaining lore that I guess Noctis would know because he was told everything ever.
Yeah.
In the crystal world. But yeah, I was just like, okay, I guess they're trying to fix some sort of thing that doesn't work. Their lore in order to make this work. I just didn't care enough to get into the details of it. I'm not.
I mean,
that
I
nerd.
guess the ring, whenever anybody puts it on, it does kind of seem like almost like Lord of the Rings when you put the ring on, like where you can kind of see the reality of the ring wraiths and shit. It's kind of like that, but like I never really thought of that as the other side, because that wasn't really a fucking thing in the original game. So I guess that's probably why.
No, it wasn't. It was stuff the book was bringing up. And then he calls upon the Kings of Old, and then Bahamut gets really pissed for another person defying their fate as Bahamut wanted it.
Dude,
and Bahamut's like, you know what? I'm just gonna kill everyone. I'm just gonna use my mega whatever force records, whatever the fuck the thing is called. I'm just gonna use meteor, and I'm gonna kill everyone. And then the other gods are like, wait, and then the other gods fight him off like they did so many years ago.
Yeah.
And Bahamut ends up doing less damage.
Yeah. So this is where it gets really gamey too. It's like a game. So Luna's up there helping cast Terra Flare. She's being used as like the catalyst, I guess. Mini Bahamut start attacking. The boys show up to save the day. Noctis and them remember their original departure. That was really weird. So they all kind of remember what happened in the original game, which I thought was fucking weird, because if this is supposed to be... This is what really bothers me about the book, is like, they claim it's supposed to be an alternate ending, but in this ending, these guys remember the original ending right here. And that really kind of fucking bugs me, because that's basically them saying that this is the ending now. But it's up to you if you want to believe that or not. We just wrote it down that way is all. So shows up to rescue them from the onslaught. There's like a fucking straight up high fantasy bullshit of like the building just like rising into the sky and like they can't catch up. And so she flies them up there to the Citadel. Noctis gets attacked. The boys tells them to stand down. And then the OG ending, the way things were supposed to be, is mentioned here. So Noctis knows that it was supposed to be a different way. That's when he gives the ring. Somnus agrees. Yeah, and this is where it's fucking... Oh my god, it's such a video game. So Noctis tries to warp strike enemies to reach Luna, because Luna's, like, floating, and there's this weird, like, spiral, like, fucking tornado deal, like, when you like, pull the plug out of the bath, I assume. She's, like, in the middle of that, just, like, evil-looking and shit. And so he's trying to warp strike to these little mini Bahamut creatures that started attacking for whatever fucking reason.
Oh, that's, yeah.
And he's like,
the avatars.
yeah, and he's warp striking from one to the other, and I'm like, oh my god, I played this in God of War. There's like so many games where you like use the guys, that's your deal, and like get up there.
Well, you do it with the kind of the Leviathan fight. You're all those like floating.
Oh, that's true. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's just mini Bahamuts instead. And then he falls, and then Ifrit breaks his fall, and he honors the covenant that he, after Luna basically saved him, she convinced him to, like, join her. And so then all the gods do this bullshit Advent Children nonsense where they, like, use their little power to, like, lift up.
Fly.
Yeah. Fly. It's that. It's that, but with, like, I don't know, the power of the gods going up his ass while he's flying up there. Bahamut intervenes. Everything blows up. All the other guys fall down to Eos, like, KO'd pretty much.
Power of the gods going up your ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That's like a Final Fantasy dildo or, like, little vibrator. Feel the power of the gods going up your ass. It's just one of those ones that, like rotates back and forth. Like the one in that fucking video, oh, man. It's the smooth jazz guy song. They're like and then there's like a little vibrator that like has this like little Khmer thing that he does, and like I saw it like with it was a sunflower and the vibrator with that song playing, and it was hilarious because like the vibrators just like dance into the fucking beat of the smooth jazz. It's one of those though.
One of those.
But it burns your ass, it freezes your ass, it shocks your ass. I guess that's it. That's
yeah. It's the power of the gods.
Power of the gods up your ass.
How else could you describe it?
I don't think there is another way. So Noctis warps Luna to safety. Arden is there's a weird moment where Arden is like, he sees Noctis's forgiveness and sees how, like, bad of a character it makes him look like. So he kind of accepts himself as, like, a dick at the end here. And Noctis scores off with Bahamut. He takes his mask away, and he sees, like, basically himself or Somnus. So, like, Bahamut, for some reason, looks just like him. And then Arden and the Kings of Lucius slay Bahamut. And Era visits him one last time before he turns to dust. And
Arden.
Yeah, he visits Arden. She visits him one last time. And then Bahamut reminds Noctis that man has always lived in the patronage of the divine.
Man has always been a little bitch.
Yeah. And then this is where it's like, no, man will always move forward, and basically death to the gods.
Yeah,
and they
weird death to the gods plot all of a sudden.
Yeah, and they're gonna survive in a godless world, and I'm like, yeah, 2020, right? 2021 now, I suppose. The crystal explodes, and the border between realms goes with it, so there's no more crossing over and shit like that. So the ring is useless. Titan saves the party from falling to their death. It was kind of dumb, and Gentiana revives Luna as her last act, and then she leaves forever too because there's no need. Hillary Clinton is alive, so that's good. There was a little podunky ending there where it's like talking about the fucking chick from Altissia. I don't know how she lived. That town is fucked. Ravis is somehow alive, and this is what really pisses me off.
Okay, I don't think Ravis is alive.
You think it's like part of that bullshit very, very, very end where it's King Regis?
Well, look, it's like King Regis talking about like it's like a letter or something.
Yeah, it's so bullshit.
Okay, so it's so weird. It's so weird in the book because it's like normal little chapters, and then it goes like ME 7,000,000,012, and then
it's just like a write up of like,
and then it's in first person. So the game switches perspective, and you find out at the end that it's King Regis narrating it, but Regis is talking about, he's describing an ideal wedding scene with the world at peace. So it's King Regis, what he expects of Noctis by the end of his journey, because in this book, it's kind of like Regis knows way more than we thought he knew in 15. So he knows exactly what's going to happen to his son and all that. So this is Regis assuming what will happen when Noctis like meets Lunafreya.
Yeah, well, no, but here's the thing though, because part of it says,
I don't get it.
It says he's like saying, "I owe all of you my eternal gratitude to Kor for your long and steadfast watch over the Crown City. It was the labors of the Crown's Guard that allowed Insomnia to endure against the demons until the return of her king." So this is after he's dead. So there is no. This is that chick and bounty hunter talking to fucking Django as if she weren't dead.
Unless he's like, okay, hold on. Can we break that apart a little bit? Now, I didn't read it that thoroughly, but I just assumed it was like some sort of ideal thing. So is Regis put all these people in charge? He knew that he was going to send off Noctis. Noctis would come back and be the king or something.
I think,
and this was just like the peaceful version, or did they like?
I think this is just,
or is it suggesting someone resurrected Ravis, or Regis? Sorry, and Ravis.
No,
this is Regis assuming Ravis is alive.
It's Regis commenting on the things that happened after he died. That's what doesn't make any sense, because it talks about.
I don't think it is.
It says to Cindy for breathing renewed life into the regalia. Seeing the car again brought Noctis great joy.
What the fuck? Okay, yeah, you're right.
Like,
that doesn't make any sense.
Dude, the fucking ending paragraph, I was like, what fan fiction assery is this? And like the whole thing is like fan fiction-y, but like, and then the very end, it's like, what the fuck are we talking about here? It's Regis being like, thanks a lot, everybody. It's like, I thought the portal from the living to the dead was closed forever. What the fuck is this? He can get a note through?
Let's
like,
all
is there
13 of the kings come back, and Somnus is like, no, the throne is mine?
Yeah. This ending is ass, and no. No, really what should have...
Okay. Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say what really should have happened is that Jared should have been the king, and all along Talcott was granted his wish of being a real boy for being the exposition machine for Noctis. And, like, I go back and remake it, and like every time there's a Talcott scene, he's like...
be the exposition machine.
It really is, because at least Talcott speaks English. Fucking Talcott, like every scene with Talcott, he's got like little strings like pulling his arms up, like, oh, hey, Noctis, hey, guys. You want to ride? He's just like shittily bouncing up and down. And then Jared.
This is out video only.
Yeah, Jared is the master. He's the puppet master of the fucking Talcott machine. That would have been a better ending. But no, the final thing with the fucking Regis, I was reading that and I was like, what the fuck is this?
It's confusing. I don't know what the fuck.
At first I was thinking what you were thinking, like, oh, this is his like, this is his preferred ending. Maybe they asked Sean Bean, hey, how do you want it to end? And then they're like, oh, okay, this is it. But then it starts talking about shit that happened. It didn't happen in the game, and it's like he's been dead for how many fucking years? And then like, how is he even? What is this? Where is this from? Is there?
How does he know about the Cindy thing? That's the whole.
Yeah. Is there like some kind of fucking?
Unless Sid told him. Sid could have told him what happened. It's like, your son was here.
Yeah.
With the regalia.
He was,
because that is right at the beginning of the game. It's before they get the news that the king is dead. So actually, no, I think that might be.
Well, I think what it's talking about though is. I think it's talking about him repairing the regalia. That's what I got, the vibe I got. Because remember it gets destroyed in the DLC
Well, no,
episode?
at the beginning it's broken down. They got to push it.
Yeah, that's maybe.
Was it broken down or was it out of gas?
I think it was out of gas.
I think it was out of gas too, but I can't remember. So maybe it might fit okay, I guess.
But then also he's talking about... Let me see. there was another part that really pissed me off. So the return, fighting against the demons until the return of the king, he was dead for that. Oh man, let me see. There was more that really bugged me. Luna for saying the ring to my son, for standing beside him in the struggle to ensure a future for the world. Maybe it works a little better than I gave it credit for.
Okay, so I'm thinking it's Regis. Sometime in between them having to push the car to Cindy and Regis dying.
Oh,
is Regis
no, because they
thinking of this ideal situation of like the wedding going without a hitch.
It's also
and Ravis being okay.
It's bullshit again though, because he says a new wedding dress was commissioned. Its design matching the one of 10 years earlier.
Oh,
the patterns
what?
for the dress, the legacy of a master dressmaker, were carried personally from Altisha to Stalem in the evacuation during the years of darkness. And that's all part of
Then he's back alive.
Yeah, I fucking guess. I mean,
that has to be what that
means. The cover of this book with Ravis and
so it's real.
Him.
So Ravis. So what is everybody resurrected? Which one of the 13 kings was Ravis?
I know. He was one of the kings.
When did he reign?
Or no, no, it was Regis was one of the 13 too, remember? Because they're
yeah, Regis was.
He was in this as a dead king. So what is he resurrected again? Because the artwork on this fucking
he's
book.
resurrected. So I'm sorry, I probably have said Ravis when I meant to say Regis a couple times.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, Regis is alive too. Or Ravis and Regis are both alive.
Ravis is alive somehow. Ravis is not one of the kings.
No, he's not.
So that's what's confusing.
He was a prince of Yeah,
but why is Ravis resurrected? They were just like, they're close to these people. Let's bring him up. I get Regis.
Yeah.
Kind of. Because, like, they've summoned the kings of old and Bahamut's fucked and maybe they all just came back.
Yeah.
But why is Ravis back?
I don't know. Maybe it's everyone that was, like, associated with the ring just gets to come back. Does he have his arm still? I mean, is
Nyx there? Is Nyx somewhere in the background of this painting?
He's just like photobombing in the corner. I don't see him.
Oh my god,
dude! I think again, it's just
that's pretty fuckery. That's that. Yeah, I didn't even think that hard about that part. I just was like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, I went to bed and I was like, what the fuck? What was that? Like, what the fuck is that? And then I looked at it again this morning. I was like, it's still dumb. Like, I don't get it.
And I just called our listeners, some of our listeners, illiterate. And now I'm the one who's didn't pay attention enough to the book. But yeah, that's confusing as shit. But I guess he's alive, and I guess Ravis is alive somehow.
Yeah.
Nyx must be alive. He's somewhere.
Yeah, and
that must be it.
Everybody that you want to be alive is alive.
And Ignis has his sight back.
Exactly. Yeah, here's a picture of him with no glasses on. Maybe he just
damn straight.
Maybe he just figures, hey, I'm blind. Why do I even wear these? I mean, that's probably what I would figure.
So we do have some. No, okay. Well, overall thoughts, I guess. For me, it's like the first half of the book was all right. I was kind of along for the ride. Second half of the book, I was like, this is kind of fan fiction bullshit. But what's nice is that it's just an alternate ending. And it's not a fucking canonized thing. And much like with Star Wars, the books don't fucking count. So what I saw with my own two goddamn eyes is what's real. And that's where I'll stand on that.
Yeah. Final thoughts for me. I do think it's a pretty well-written book at the very least. Like Joe said, it's not really like some grand narrative. It's not like we're talking about like great literature here. It's just largely intelligible, and so it gets a pass.
Except for the very end, yeah.
Yeah, except for the Regis part. There's nothing to pull from that other than madness. But again, it's just like events happening, and we get some good insight. We get some good backstory. I like how it fleshes out the Empire and everything that happened there. I really like
for people who are really into lore, they can dig into it.
I think it makes the story of 15 a little stronger too, because other than that, it just seems like bad guys, good guys, you know? And it's kind of a weak story. That's kind of like something that I don't know. I don't really like anymore. Post Game of Thrones, like I can't really get into a story that's that way. So it's good to
You like something that's more morally complex.
yeah, something that's a little, you know, you got some fat to chew on. And I think this offers
That's what
that.
happens when you just start watching movies and reading books made for adults. It's usually what starts happening.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh, yeah, it's not everything's a Disney movie.
yeah.
I have a few problems with this, even as something like, because it's obvious that they wrote this after the fact, and none of it is really well. It doesn't mesh well with the original game. A lot of the story stuff and like the theme of defying their fate.
How many times are we gonna get that? Like
Twice. We're gonna get that twice in a row. With Final Fantasy VII Remake and with this one where it's like, well, they've changed the theme of Final Fantasy VII Remake, but that is the theme of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
yeah, they were on a kick. They were on a kick. No, remember 13 though. 13's trilogy.
Yeah, but it's not like you wouldn't just like play. Sorry, hold on one second. You wouldn't just play all of 15 and then get to this book and being like, yeah, it was about defying fate that entire time.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't mention anything about the word fate from the beginning of the fucking game.
See,
unless it's, of course, Noctis's fate to be the next king, but that's about it.
Yeah, there's like legends and like lore about, oh, the chosen king is going to come and do that. Like that existed, but it wasn't like these guys are on a railroad track and this is all they could do, because that makes it a bullshit lame story, because then there's no autonomy. That's essentially the fucking like Lords of Salem movie. Like it's just things happening to this person and them not doing a goddamn thing about it. And it's like, this movie's trash. It's not this person's like life. It's just things happening to this person over and over again, and them just saying, fuck it. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just become evil. And like, there's no complication. There's no struggle. It's just acceptance. And that's lame.
It's tacked on and weird. I don't think it really, it obviously fleshes out lore. I think some of it was probably like them thinking about how to make this story work, so they added some more lore elements that made the story work. When it comes to like the mechanics, once again, which I did not pay that much attention to, the mechanics of the Ring of Lucii, and bringing people back from the dead and all that stuff. That's all I think kind of tacked on after the fact thinking. Just specifically for the DLC. And my argument stands with the statement in the book that they were all just like sitting around thinking of new ideas for DLCs, and they're like, well, why don't we come up with a good ending version?
Yeah, in quotes.
A happy ending, you know? Which I remember getting that news. Do you remember getting that news about they were going to make a happy ending for 15? Like Tabata was stating something like that, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And they did, just in book form, because he fucked off.
Yeah. I think again that 15 is, I think if they would have given it a little more time, I think it would have been a really, really excellent piece. Like, I really do, because if all this stuff was kind of interplaying and it worked a little better within the actual game, I think it would honestly be like top 2 Final Fantasies.
Well, I think the emotional through line of Noctis and his friends going on the trip is still really strong.
It is.
And still works. And that's the thing that holds it together. And that's what I love about the game. So getting all that extra campfire scenes and everything like that, it's really the strength of the characters that gets you through some plot parts that don't really work that well or aren't paced that well. But it's that emotional core is so much stronger than most of the Final Fantasy games. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I get that. And I like the emotional through line too. I think it is the best thing about 15. I just think 15 would be a more complete package. Honestly, if they would have taken even longer. Which again, I wonder how much of this they even had during the big 15's being delayed over and over and over again
they had
phase.
Nothing.
Yeah, so it's like they
didn't have any. All this stuff is after the fact. It's clear.
If they would have planned it properly, I think this could be like absolutely amazing. Instead, it's just pretty good. It's still a pretty good story. I like it. but
I think it's pretty damn good. I think it's one of the better Final Fantasies because of that central thing. But we all know that. Okay, we do have a bunch of questions. Well, we got questions. I don't know. It's not really a bunch. We have 4 emails from the very few people who even know about this book and responded to our request on Discord. Join the Discord, everybody, by the way. Link will be in the description. Oh, we got 3. Okay. Jake Howlian, I'm sure I pronounced that correctly, has some Dawn of the Future cues. His first one being, including this and the DLC stories into the main game, is this the best FF ever? No.
No.
No, it's not.
If it worked, then maybe. But
yeah, it doesn't quite work. It feels really chunked together. I think it's made worse by all the DLCs and stuff. I actually think it kind of worked better without all the additions, personally. Second question is, how do you feel about withholding major plot points that affect people's perceptions of the game from the main game? Is this just a function of Tabata coming in last minute?
I don't think
that's assuming that these plot points actually happened, which it's clear it's an alternate.
Yeah, I would say that it's not. I mean, Tabata. I mean, I'm no fan of Tabata's storytelling. 15 is the only one that I didn't like. 15 and Crisis Core have some okay stuff, but I don't know. Tabata is not good at story, in my opinion. So I don't think they withheld any major plot points that affected people's perception of the game, because I don't think these plot points existed until after the fact. Or at least they were going to be DLCs after the fact.
They said it in the book.
Yeah.
I think unless he's just talking about the first 3, because his first question had to do with all DLCs. So if you're talking about like the 3 that are definitely part of the game, which are Episode, Ignis, it's the 3 guys, Gladio and
Ignis and Prompto.
And Prompto, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Having a brain fart for a second. When you're talking about those 3 DLCs where it was like clearly planned from the beginning that they were major plot points, I don't think they were major enough to...
Yeah.
I think the game was fine without them, honestly. I don't know what you mean by major. They're major lore points, like they flesh out the world more, but do they really add to the emotional core of the story?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah. He says the past few FF books have been really great. And they've provided...
Maybe he read the real ones.
And
or the professionally.
Maybe. I'll give him that. And they've provided pivotal information for game players. Why does FF have this problem where the game can't be self-contained? Is this the problem in gaming in general, or just ambitious projects like FF?
What pivotal information? That's what I'm confused about. I don't know if I agree with the philosophy on that question at all.
Yeah.
Like at all.
So we have the 7 books that are pivotal if you like Advent Children, I guess, but I don't know if they're necessarily... I don't know of any that are pivotal.
They're not necessary at all. It's not like I didn't... It's not like I played FF7 and was like, oh, I really need a spin-off book to explain some things in the background.
Yeah.
A story is a singular kind of line, emotional through line with a beginning, middle, and an end. And if it's a fantastical story like this, they need to set up enough of the world that the story can happen within it. So I might just have a different philosophical kind of view on like what's necessary in storytelling. But no, I don't think any of those things were pivotal information. I don't think like how Shinra went off through either a slide or whatever the other fucking one was, if he was taken by a helicopter or whatever it was. I don't think that it matters how Mr. Shinra survived. It's just like we can kind of piece it together between the first game and Advent Children. Of course, in the original game, he didn't.
Yeah, it was pretty...
They retcon that shit too.
It was pretty clear that he died, so I wouldn't say that's pivotal.
I don't know what pivotal information would be in the other books.
I would agree that that problem could be because of a game, because like the difference between a game and a book, there's a lot more like internal dialogue that could be placed into a book, and you get a lot more background. So I think it partially has to do with the medium, So I would agree with that point. And I don't know if it's necessarily... I think it is a problem in gaming. And I think ambitious projects like 15 certainly make that problem glaringly obvious. I don't know if all the FFs are that way. I think 6 is a pretty well-contained creation, largely because they haven't created anything else for it. But so I think it is a problem in gaming just overall across the board when it comes to being able to put enough in there to make it feel like as well told as a book, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, it takes something... It would take a lot, because with games, you know, they want you to spend a lot of time in it. They want you to feel like you got your money's worth. So they have, like, sub-teams putting together other things you can do in a game. And so... if a game doesn't have a super linear story that's trying to be airtight, you're going to want, I guess if you become like a really big fan of it, you're going to want to dig into those things. And maybe you would think of little game events as quote unquote pivotal information if you were that type of consumer. I'm not. But I can imagine, I know a lot of our listeners are, like, they get real into the lore and stuff like that, and they get real into, like, the mechanics when it has to do with, like, magic systems that in real life don't make any sense whatsoever, but, you know, the world has to set it up as something somewhat self-contained enough for you to not care about it. But these people, like, they care about it. They go in and they, like, are trying to, like, break it apart. Like, how exactly does the Ring of Lucii work?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a story is an emotional thing, and I don't know if that's totally necessary for the emotional telling of it. And Tabata is certainly stripped down in his storytelling. Even though I agree there's definitely some work that needs to be done with his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of nothing. Like, if you break down all the bullshit, it's pretty good, but Crisis Core had the same problem. There's just so much bullshit in Crisis Core, like shit that does not matter, and like random characters that show up and like Gact and the fucking Genesis,
Yeah.
like the play. Like, come on, there's a lot of that in his stuff. But I think the through line is usually strong. Maybe he just gets too much time with it. I don't know. Maybe he just goes crazy after a while. But
I don't know. I mean, there's certainly plot holes all over all the Final Fantasies. So in that respect, like, oh, this is pivotal information because it explains things away that didn't work in the game. I don't know if it really fixes anything or it makes the books necessary. It just, it's for I got to find a word for it. It's like a lore monger.
Yeah. You lore monger.
You lore monger.
That's a good one.
Caring about little details like that, like in some sort of like OCD sort of way, which I don't really understand. I remember showing, and this just has to do with like the type of people watching different things. I always go back to movies because that's what I consume all the time, and that's what I know the best. But like, oh man, I was watching Breathless, which is like this French New Wave 1960s movie, which is super experimental and like says fuck you to all the forms of cinema at that point in time. And it was like someone goes into a room and all it's doing is like quick cuts to all these weird different conversations happening. And Cameron walked into the kitchen when we lived together, and he started watching like 5 seconds later. He's like, what the fuck are they doing? What the fuck are they doing? And I'm like, Cameron, it's just like French people fucking around with cinema. That's what this is. This is art film. This is like, I would wonder, like, these lore mongers, if you could show them an impressionistic film. Like something that just only cares about emotion and does not give a fuck about reality. I would like to show them one of those things, like see if they could try to figure out a way to appreciate it or not, like a Tarkovsky movie. Like show them, there's a science fiction film called Solaris, which doesn't explain anything about the science or anything that's going on in the movie. And it's just like this emotional, like, fuck you, that this guy's dead wife is coming back to life and you have no idea why. It's just because they're close to the star thing and they have no idea what the fuck's happening. And it's like fucking with your brain the entire movie. And you don't really know like what happens at the ending. Like I would there's no way to watch that movie again and figure it all out. Because literally the movie is made to just like fuck with you. So I would like to see like a lore monger be able to like what they would do. I know Cameron could not take it. He was just like could not take like a little French New Wave film.
Yeah, it's like it sounds like The Fountain, except The Fountain's message is really obvious instead.
Well, The Fountain is actually trying to be one of those movies, but tried to solidify itself way too much.
Yeah, it's just cancer sucks. Life is painful.
It might have worked without without any dialogue in the with the cancer storyline.
Yeah,
like they could have kept everything else, and then you'd be like, "What the fuck's happening in the real world? What's going on?" And then you could have like dug into the thing. But no, he actually gave too much away. I think was part of the problem with that movie.
Yeah, it's like the lame version of that, where he tells you what's happening instead of letting you think about it for like a year.
Yeah, there's different kinds of stories though, and it's just kind of funny. There's like Timo, my friend Timo is kind of like that. Like we were arguing about Ad Astra because he fucking hated it and I fucking loved it. And Ad Astra is another one of those things that does not give a fuck like what's actually happening. It's just all about like the symbolism and like what it's about on an emotional and mythic level. And Timo's like, yeah, but he can't get there because of like gravity and shit like this. Like, and he's like freaking out about like technical problems with the thing. And I'm like, who cares? That's not what it's about.
No, yeah, that sounds like me with Interstellar.
Yeah, that is like you with Interstellar.
You know, until the last like 2 minutes, Interstellar is amazing. But then it just like, we're gonna go save her. We're gonna save her, and she's gonna come back with me. And I'm like, you just told me that like that planet jacked up time like for everyone around it, so like she's probably dead, bro.
I'm definitely in the emotional camp on movies.
I am too.
And storytelling in general.
Usually.
I'm mostly in the emotional camp. I'm like, I don't know if it's because I like sympathize with the artist quite a bit, and I'm like, what are they trying to do on an artistic level? And I'm like thinking like that in the back of my head when I'm watching a movie or something. And I'm like roped in with characters. I'm pretty easily emotionally manipulated by media, so I don't think about like the things on the outside. I think about that core, like, I think about the core emotions and the
that's
characters.
Usually where I'm at. But when you give me science in the movie and then you break the science in the movie an hour later, it bothers me. Like you can't. It's fine if it's bullshit science. Like I love bullshit science movies. Like Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies ever. That's total bullshit, but it doesn't like defy its own science halfway through until you get to like maybe the later ones. And
that's fair. I do think there is just like more like harder left-brained individuals. They're just looking at things like trying to pick apart things. Like they're always trying to like figure out everything like a puzzle. And I don't know if all the creators always think that way. I think that's actually like to be that kind of like to be like a Stanley Kubrick or something is pretty rare. When it comes to these storytellers, they're going to be pretty disappointed going through their media and like just trying to find ways that it all fits together perfectly. Because I think a lot of creators aren't like that.
Yeah,
I think they're a lot messier than that.
That's fair.
So I don't know. That was a weird philosophical kind of tangent, but yeah. So I don't know if I go with that underlying philosophy. That's pivotal information, you know. But you know, I don't think this is the only person arguing that they really like this book, because that's what the questions are basically telling me, and I didn't. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't hate it until the end, I guess, but. Even then, it's just an alternate thing.
Even then, it's alternate. Thank God, it's not like the real thing.
Yeah.
Luna, Arden, Noctis, most badass trio of FF characters. They can kill anyone, and 2 are immortal. Technically, I think.
Yeah, they're pretty good characters. Yeah. I mean, Luna is probably the weakest of the 3, but
I mean, if we're talking about badass in terms of like attitude, and like someone I would like to be like but have no chance of being like. It's more like an Oron or like a Shadow.
Yeah.
In terms of badassery, you know. I don't know. I'm more of like a Clint Eastwood fan, I guess.
Yeah. I could never be that
fan.
Like reading that Washington a Life book, it's like, man, I wish I could be as awesome as him, but I just have too much of a mouth. Like I really just I don't think I could do it. Like I tried when I was reading it, and then I was like, I can't do this. I tried
to write down every rule of society, of high society, and try to.
Yes, and I ordered all these British clothes, and I was like, man,
I only order clothes from Great Britain. All I have are hoodies now.
Yeah, and my teeth have gotten way worse in the interim.
You should have ordered your toothpaste from somewhere else, Schweiss.
Yeah. It's like it's empty. There's nothing in here.
I like how the British people always come over here and they complain about our sugary cereal. They're like, oh, everything's so sweet. I'm like, is it though? What the fuck have you got in your food? What the fuck? Do you just instead of putting sugar in their cakes or whatever, they put in just grit of sand. That's what they put in. They just put in sand, and it fucks up their teeth.
Just strips away the fucking enamel. Yeah. Shout out to the British listeners.
Yeah, but they can make fun of us forever for right now. Okay, which episode would you have liked to play? Mine is thankfully Arden. Though of the ones we didn't get to play, it would be Aranea. I agree with Aranea. I think that would have probably been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Arden is the one that I wanted the most when they gave their list of what do you want back in the day. So I'm glad we got that. But Aranea's does seem fun. He has one more question. That's how could they have better worked in the Somnus parallels to fit the main story? As far as the book goes, I think they did a pretty good job with the book. It
doesn't fit the main story of the game. Yeah, they would have had to rework the whole damn thing.
Somnus
there would have had to be like a scene at the beginning before the car thing where like Noctis is going down with his father into the tombs or something, and it's like his father is explaining the lore of their history. They're going down. And he's like, and someday you too will be king, son. You know, you look a little bit like Somnus.
Everything that the light touches.
Everything that the light touches. Yeah, I would have taken some sort of setup like that. Hopefully a little better, but
yeah, I agree. You could have done it, but they just didn't. So it's not the end of the world. I mean, we got it with the episode Arden and stuff later, but I think it would have been cool to have some of that. The only example of that I can think of is like the parallel between fucking the fight in Kingslave when he's fighting like Glaucus or whoever the fuck it is, and then like the two things are fighting up above. Like if it's that kind of a parallel, then I don't want it. But they could have just built it into the story of 15, and that would have. I think it would have worked okay.
The entire game would have had a different theme if this was like the real version.
That's true, yeah, because this
would have from the beginning. It would have been a different thing. Like your central thesis would have affected the entirety of the thing from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
So we would just have a different game. It might be the same world and the same characters, but
yeah,
it'd be a completely different story.
Largely right now, 15 serves as I don't know, it's one of those stories. It's like The Lion King, where like people have certain roles and they have like certain what am I thinking of? It's the type of storytelling that it is.
Where people are archetypal?
Yeah, it's an archetypal story. And archetypal stories generally aren't super invested in, you have to do this thing. It's like there are archetypes that have it's not they're not like predestined. And the problem with this book is it implies that they were predestined to do all of these things, whereas the archetypal story is they have certain roles that they take, and it's not necessarily that they have no choice in the matter. It's that, this is kind of what they're meant to do.
Their choice is to do this. Like Noctis's choice is to go and go back and try to save the world.
He chooses the archetype rather than the archetype being forced on him. And the book kind of implies that it was forced on him. In the game, I didn't feel that way.
It doesn't at all. Yeah.
It felt like, it felt kind of like how Game of Thrones feels, where there's this ancient legend that this will happen someday, but it's, not everything is 100% like, okay,
It doesn't organically go with the original game.
Yes.
It just doesn't.
It doesn't, yeah. It doesn't quite fit.
I mean, it's good for those fans that like, oh, I wanted Noctis to have a happy ending, which, by the way, I read the Goodreads reviews on this thing, and I was like, who are these people? I don't know any person who would think this way. Or it's just like, wow, the Noctis ending was like really sad, and I really wanted a better ending for him, so I'm glad this book exists. And I'm like, it was it was artistically beautiful, like the ending of the game, like it ended the way it should have ended, and that's it. I don't know. Once again, different philosophy on
agree.
how
I think the ending is amazing. The ending is like super emotional and fucking powerful, and this ending is bullshit. This
ending's not
hogwash.
It's like it's just kind of like spin-off FF level storytelling. It's just like it's a bunch of lore and shit being thrown around and gods, and
it's FF spin-off salad. You just like fucking throw a bunch of shit in there. You kind of shake it up. You rinse it off, and then you
here's
serve
an Ifrit. Here's a Bahamut.
Would you like
Here's
some
an evil empire?
Would you like some Leviathan dressing with that, or are you maybe a pinch of Bahamut? Like seriously.
That's about how I feel about that. Those are the questions, right? We got 2 reviews.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sending in your question.
Yeah, thanks. I'll read the first bit. So, Jake Hoya, again, Dawn of the Future review. Chapter Arden. This chapter was fine. I thought it fleshed out the story of his character a bit more, while not really adding too much. It was interesting to add humanity to his character, alongside the absolute torture 2,000 years as an immortal chained in a cave would have been. I came out of it understanding his desire to decimate the Calum line. That's fair.
That's basically what you were saying.
Yeah. Chapter RNA. I felt like this chapter flowed as if it was pure gameplay. That's what you said earlier. Starting with the attack on Niflheim through the fight with a weapon. It felt action-packed and would have probably been a fun DLC. As a book, it was kind of boring, and introduction of Soul felt weird and forced.
Yeah.
Chapter Luna. I'll let you do the next one. This is where I think the book really hit its stride. Luna's thoughts as a character are super one-dimensional, but that doesn't take away from the fact that her entire story is in the world of darkness, an area we've all wanted to explore more. Talk of the town thanks to those canned goods. Her companionship with Soul, and eventual turn into an Arden-type character, is very interesting for the overarching story, even if it wasn't that well explored. Yeah, it really wasn't. That's kind of disappointing. This feels like it would have been an awesome DLC to play. The ending of her chapter reminds me of Mad Max.
So that does remind me, it was talking about fleshing out the world, it was talking about the canned goods. It does remind me, it's the first Final Fantasy to ever admit there's movies that exist.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, the only other time was like the honeycomb viewer in Final Fantasy X. Like, movies just don't exist in these games. And I was like, oh, that's nice. We have movies, they exist. All right. Episode Knocked. If this was meant to be the true ending to 15, I do not think it was a better ending. However, it was an ending that I, as the Western consumer, probably would have enjoyed more. I don't really think it has anything to advance Noct as a character, but it would have been a fucking blast warp striking up to Bahamut to destroy a god. I like the idea of Noct, the Bros, Luna, and Talcott living their lives in peace. In the sudden pristine insomnia. All right, so like as a player, he's saying that would have been a more enjoyable ending. Okay, all right.
That's fair.
Overall, 15 is my favorite FF, though not the best. Similar to how Schweiss is with 12. Unlike the 7 or 10 books, and similar to 13 books, these stories should have been somehow in the game. Understandably, these chapters provide somewhat more depth to the characters than a game can, yet the overall plot points should have been included in the main game. I don't know whose fault it is that 15 is such a mess in terms of the story being across 5 different media, but oh well. I think it's Square Enix, the company.
They could have done it okay, too. It's not like it's impossible, but...
No, they would have had to pre-plan all of it, though. They've been tacking on this thing as it goes along.
They would have needed to be Brandon Sanderson, and instead they're George R. R. Martin. Like, they do not have an outline planned. They do not have a progress bar on their website. None of that. That is for pussies and people who want things to work.
I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah. As a whole, the story is my favorite in the series. I'll buy any additional media they release about the world of EOS, but it's probably time to let it die. 7 out of 10 as an FF book. Rankings are number 1, 15, Dawn of the Future. Oh, this is all the books. 1, 15, Dawn of the Future. 2, 13, episode 0. 3, fragments before. 4, 13, episode 1. 5, fragments after. 6, on the way to a smile. 7, Turks are all right. True translation. It's better than what you guys read. Okay, all
that's
right,
good.
That's your, for the listeners out there that were like, I'm never reading that book. Well, you got one person that thinks you might. He puts it middle of the way. 8, 15, prologue, A Parting of Ways. I actually like that one. I think that one should have probably actually been in the game. It seems like they wrote it to be in the game and then decided to cut it. 9, 10, 2.5. That needs to be lower. 10, Tracer of Memories. 11, FF Memories of Heroes. 12, that piece of shit FF10 Will.
Ooh.
And then 13, the FF9 Strategy Guide.
Honestly, Will is probably worse than the 9 strategy guide. The 8
The 9
strategy guide
doesn't work.
The
8 strategy guide is pretty bad.
The 8 strategy guide doesn't tell you the most important part, that they get really, really strong. And you just
don't level up. It tells you to level up in the strategy guide. It's a fucking liar. Do not do it.
Yeah, don't listen.
Don't listen to that fucking thing. Look for odd internet forums with the truth in it.
Yeah, don't listen to Ondor's lies.
Yeah. Cheers, guide. Cheers, guys. Love having new episodes, Brulo. Oh, thanks, Brulo.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And then we got a second review from Joshua Fraioli. You want to start that?
Yep. Long time no here. I hope you guys are well. Caleb asked me for my input on Dawn of the Future. Here are my thoughts. This piece of literature and final edition is a wonderful example of how FF15 had become a disappointing entry into the series and ultimately the epitome of what happens to most of all Square's mainline entries that have multiple parts. A fucking Frankenstein monster that doesn't make any sense. Somehow, Square, for the life of them, cannot make a consistent story. Throughout the entirety of 15's expanded universe, they've been able to either retcon, ignore, or just leave out story elements to the point where it changes the whole context of the story that was in the original launch of the game. We saw this across Kingsglaive, the promotional demos, the Omen trailer, the expanded DLC, and the abysmal free story patches. This book is no different.
Maybe what happens in the Omen trailer is one of the alternates, you know?
God, that trailer was so awesome, and like I was so excited, and then it was a dream. I'm like, oh, come on. It was looking dark and like, ooh. And then like it honestly,
the Leviathan fight stuff.
Yeah.
Don't ever give away shit to a game that where like at the end they're just like, it's not working.
Yeah, just don't say a word. Just give like the theme song and then the logo and then say fuck it, it's coming out when it comes out. Like don't give us anything. Don't say a damn word.
Yeah, we might enjoy it more, Square.
And then
like
if all of the pieces of the media, that's what I'm saying. Like 15 as a project could have been amazing. It could have been what
they had like 9 different teams working on different things. They weren't talking to each other, and it does not make sense.
They wanted
the game is the best one, I think. Luckily.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. they wanted to make the Marvel universe, the MCU, with 15, but they didn't take enough time and they didn't have enough direction to make it work. It's really all there is to it. Because it could have been that cool. I mean, not that the MCU is like super great. I mean, you got like Captain Marvel and shit in there, but you know, overall, it's a really cool idea, and like this is a really cool idea too. It just fell flat in numerous different areas, and no one was talking.
It would have to be ingrained within the game itself.
Yeah.
Or like they fuck around with it like they did with the updates of 15 where they make the DLC fit better.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's fine, I guess. But even then, it's still, the game still feels off. Even with the updates. Like, the complaints we had the first time around, they're still there.
Still there.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. Want to read the second paragraph, and I'll take the rest of it.
Yeah. The intent of Dawn of the Future was to give us a happy ending, quote-unquote. Yet the ending of 15 was never the problem and didn't need to be fixed despite the minority that demanded it. I blame Tabata for thinking this was the priority in that goddamn survey instead of giving us a decent magic system or expanding explorable areas in the second continent. You know, something that would actually contribute to replay value of the game. The problem with 15 was that the world they ended up making was unfinished, uninteresting, and emotionally disjointed. Noctis lost his home, his birthright, the crystal, and his father is dead. But let's take this snapshot next to this mountain and cry over and summon God to destroy a military base for a servant that we barely knew. God damn it. I wish that Square had just let Nomura stay on the project instead of moving him to 7 Remake.
Oh, we wouldn't have it.
It's true.
Sorry, go ahead.
We did get 7 Remake, but I mean, that's a game that they already had, so you can see how having 3 different directors can fuck with the story. The story went from a Shakespearean inspiration to a boys' trip gone bad that had instances of self-sacrifice, to then, with this book and the Arden/Ignis DLC, a story about fighting against fate and gods. We just did this in the 13 series, Type 0, and Dissidia. Can we have a break? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I don't think you heard me, though. I was like, well, 13 did this shit, too. The, like, fight fate, change the future, you change the past.
That would be the first one doing that, though.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't remember any of the story of Dissidia, but yeah, that would be the 13. That was 13. That was its core story from the beginning. That's the difference. It's like 13 was all about they have to do something that the gods have told them to do, and they're like, no. And that's the beginning of the game, you know?
Yeah, so it works.
So it works better thematically.
Better, yeah. It doesn't work necessarily, but
there's other things about 13 that don't work. But yeah, I mean, I agree largely with that. When he's talking about letting Mura stay, remember they had him on Kingdom Hearts 3 and on Versus 13 at the same time.
Yeah.
And both those games took forever to come out.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Square put Nomura as the head of 2 projects because he was the golden boy. And then I don't know like what happened internally, but I'm guessing he just like couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I think he has
That's what I'm guessing.
He has like
that would be assumed since they're 2 huge projects with a lot of pressure.
Yeah. If we're going to assume that the reason that this universe is the way it is, so disjointed and everything like that, I think he has like a really, really big grand idea that's like would have been really good, but the execution of it was bad. And so maybe they brought in, and this is all bullshit speculation, but maybe they brought in Tabata saying, look, like this project is really cool. Come on. But
time to wake up.
Yeah. But it's never going to fucking come out, and we need to make some fucking money around here to actually
people are really
survive.
Excited about what they've been given in those old trailers, you know.
Just put something out.
We could spin this into 15. And I think Tabata's a finisher. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we had him, because, like, who knows what would fucking happen? How many delays would have happened with this game?
He's not going to play with your balls while he's finishing you, but he will finish you up.
He's definitely not as artistically impenetrable as Nomura. Nomura's kind of the guy who would, like, do something and never apologize for it.
Yeah. Tabata's like, hey,
clearly, like,
here's
fucking with Batman.
Yeah. Here's a survey. Nomura's
What do you
Batman
want?
stuff is really cool. It's pretty bitchin' looking.
Gundam Batman.
Gundam Batman, yeah. What if we made him a robot? Yes. But seriously, though, it has that feel to me that it was just a project that was way too big, and they had to get something out, and so they kind of rushed it all.
They have
So,
probably invested like
seriously,
$10 million into it already.
This thing could have been the coolest fucking game thing ever, and it's just not to me. I don't know. Like the extended universe is. It's not 7 level bad, but it's close. Like it's just as unnecessary, I would say. So you got the rest of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take the rest of it. My internet is experiencing interruptions, so if I cut out, we'll just reset. The last thing I'm going to point out, when you kill off a character, maybe, just maybe, they should be dead. Somehow, in the game and in this book, Luna has more screen time and does more shit after she dies. Do you know why Aerith's death was extremely impactful in FF7? Original. Because after she's impaled, we never interact with her again. You know what normally happens when someone dies? If someone is just going to be hanging out around as a spirit or is miraculously revived, then is helping you out and doing a bunch of interesting shit, maybe you shouldn't kill him off. Otherwise, the death becomes a cheap storytelling gag. Yet, ultimately, I'm happy that they bailed on finishing this as DLC for the game. By episode Arden, you could see that there was a huge drop in quality, and Square had pretty much given up on supporting 15. They stopped the work on the 15 Windows mod tools system they were advertising for a year and poured money into, and were barely supporting Comrades and the Avatar system for Windows 15. The Comrades server was officially taken offline, and the Avatar system was removed by June 2020. Based on what episode Arden ended up turning out to be, and generally what a lot of FF15 was, episode Aranea, Luna, and Noctis would have just been really bad copy and paste jobs that wouldn't have added anything to the main entry. Just more nonsensical storytelling. Also, I did not read the book. I read the summaries. I am not spending my money supporting this nonsense. It's like giving money to an addict. It's not helping anyone, and it's just reinforcing destructive behavior, aka Square's storytelling department. Love you both, Stallis. Thank you, Stallis, for that review. Yeah, it's a little closer to how I feel about it, but knowing that it's not canon is the one thing that I can kind of take away this thing. Kind of take away this whole situation from.
And for the YouTube and Twitch viewers, I couldn't have said it better myself. You were like glitching hard, and I was laughing pretty hard at it. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Well, for those watching this on YouTube and decided to see our face, there's an audio version of this episode that will be available if you go click on our YouTube page and check the second playlist, you'll get the pretty version, the one where see the two microphones in front of me. One of them, it sounds beautiful and crisp. The other one is going through Zoom. So, think about that if you want that. Also, subscribe to our RSS feed. Guys, if you're listening to us via the podcast stuff, we do have a YouTube channel. If you want to consume our content that way, just search Ultimate Final Fantasy and you'll find us. Also, Nude Clan, if you guys want to check that out, has a whole bunch of... We're going to have a whole bunch of new content. We got it backlogged right now. We just put out our first Let's Play, which is pretty funny. It's like a Cthulhu dating game simulator.
Yeah.
It's like a 30-minute video with most of the Nude Clan boys on there, like cracking jokes, and it's pretty great. So go check that out on youtube.com/Nude Clan Gaming. I believe that's the channel title. Either way, if you type in Nude Clan,
I don't think
do
you
it
get
at work, but you'll find the channel.
I don't think you get a custom RSS until later, but you'll find it.
I think we do.
We might. I don't know.
We do have it.
I'll have to look. But yeah, there's that show. We've got Puff Puff Hour, a Dragon Quest podcast. It's a sister show to this show in a way. It's like the sister that, it's kind of a loser. I was just kidding. That doesn't. They did all the main series. There were plans to do more, but they did cover all the mainline Dragon Quest games. So if you like Dragon Quest, you can check that out. We have the Godzilla podcast. Joe and his buddy Drew host and are reviewing and commentating over every episode, or every episode 2.
It's
every
basically
movie.
a TV show. Why not? Yeah, it's a TV show with disjointed timelines, but
they're covering all the Godzilla stuff. Hopefully, I'm hoping to see more of that coming out once you get out here.
Yeah, we got Godzilla versus King Kong, dude. It's coming out in March, bruh. And we're definitely gonna watch it and do like what we did last time with the last Godzilla movie that came out. Was just have a little conversation going like, what are our initial opinions? Not our full commentary yet.
Yeah. I'm
so
excited.
We'll do that pretty soon after the movie comes out.
I'm excited for you guys to start doing that again, because once you move out here, put the pressure on. So that's exciting that we got more stuff in that monster universe they created with Kong Skull Island and that 2014 Godzilla. They're starting to really flesh that out.
The last movie was kind of dumb. It was dumb. It was fun as a monster movie fan because you saw like the monster fight was pretty cool, but God, it was so stupid. It was like there's like a part. Did you watch it twice?
No.
Oh man, the bad guy, and there's like a whole bunch of twists and turns. But at this moment in the movie, the bad guy starts talking to all the good guys via like Skype or something, and then she starts like whatever she's talking about. There's now video footage of it. Like she's having, it's like the oh my God, how do I set this up? It's like an impromptu conversation with the bad guy once they find out she's doing some bad shit, and they call her on this like video phone, and she answers, and then she starts talking about all her plans, and then on the screen, like with the characters in the room on the screen, she starts showing like monster video footage going up, like she planned a PowerPoint presentation for when they would call her.
Nice.
It's so dumb. And then like Zhang Ziyi is in it, and it's totally like sidelined. She's supposed to be like twins. There's supposed to be two Zhang Ziyis, and it's really unclear that they're two different people for like most of that movie. There's like weird shit like that. I don't really like how it's filmed. I thought that the direction, which I liked one of his movies I saw, which was Trick or Treat. That was a pretty good movie. But I thought like he didn't have the sense of scale that Gareth Edwards had when it came to like seeing Godzilla or any of the monsters, like seeing them through buildings or whatever and looking up at them.
Yeah.
Which was something they did really well with the last two Monster Universe movies, but with Godzilla King of the Monsters, it was just like shot like an indie film, like on handheld, all these actors just like standing around. So it was really uncinematic. Except for the like CGI monster fights that were separate from the human characters. Like those were done pretty well. So like monster fans, really into it. If you're a movie fan, and if you're kind of a snob, which I kind of am, like you're watching it and you're just like, this is real dumb. This is like this is like D movie dumb.
Oh, so are you saying it's an homage to most of the old ones?
Yes.
Well, that's good.
I actually saw someone complaining on Twitter. It was like, look, I know that the old ones were sometimes not very good and were cheesy like this, but in the old ones, it was basically saying that, like, you know, they were trying, and that this movie just like knew that it was a shit movie, and that the writers just wrote it shittily. Like that was his argument for it. I don't know if that's true.
Were they trying in the old ones though? It almost seems like they were just fucking around.
You know, with Godzilla versus Megalon and Godzilla versus Gigan and All Monsters Attack, there's definitely an argument to be made that they were just like, well, Toho's saying I have to make another one of these things, so I don't know, throw in a fucking Ultraman and we'll call him Jet Jaguar. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Or how about this? Godzilla's a dream now. He's gonna be the kid's best friend in an alternate dream world, because I can't think of a real plot. He's just gonna be the kid. He's gonna be walking around in an island in his dream because his parents leave him at home alone, which is really the plot of a Godzilla movie, guys.
Yeah, I watched it for $1.
Twice to watch it.
Yeah, it's $1.
So you have to watch the worst movie of all time. You're gonna sit down and watch this thing. But actually, I love Godzilla, despite the fact that like 3 movies in a row are awful in the show era.
So if you like it too, check it out.
Yeah. You know, I started this whole podcast with like a low-grade migraine, and it's gone now, which is really nice. So now I'm all talkative. But now we're going to end it, aren't we?
Yeah. For A Few Chickens More, Song of Schweiss and Johnson, did our final episode of that. If you've watched all of Game of Thrones, I recommend listening to that show. I think it's really fun. We spoiled the hell out of it, though. The first, probably 50 episodes are when season 7 was out, and then after that we did season 8 stuff, and then after that it's just full spoilers. Like, so it's pretty much full spoilers. If anyone wants to listen to it,
watch to season 7, and you're really anticipating the ending. and then listen to all the podcasts,
And then
except for the season 8 stuff, and then episode at a time go through season 8, and then once you're finished as well, listen to the last episode.
yeah, there you go. That's pretty much what it is.
That's the order.
It's annoying though because we stopped like at the end of season 5, and then we just picked it back up afterwards, and we were just like, yeah, fuck it. I didn't think it was bad after we watched the ending though. I really enjoyed doing it. So that's a good podcast if you're into Thrones and you want a little more, but only if you've watched all of it. Don't do it, or at least it's up to season 7 until the season 8 reviews.
The amount of people disappointed in the ending is it suggests that like your podcast is made for a sliver of people still interested in Game of Thrones. Right
exactly.
Now.
Yeah, the fan base is destroyed, but you know. Hey, the new book, if it ever comes out, it'll revitalize a little.
That guy's going to die of a heart attack before that thing comes out.
Yeah. Got...
Even then, there's still one after that, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to get one and then wait 20 more years when he's 100?
Yeah.
You think that guy's going to live to 100? I don't think he's going to live to 100 twice.
Probably not.
I'm looking at his gut. I don't think he's going to live to 100.
That's not the gut of a 100-year-old man.
No, there's what did I hear once? It was like, you see old people, you see fat people, but how often do you see old fat people?
Yeah, not very.
Just to really depress our chubby listeners, including myself out there.
Speaking of chubby listeners, Caleb Craig not on the show today.
Not on the show, never on the show again, probably.
Yeah, no.
Poor guy.
Can't be bothered. Not dead,
yeah, so
though.
our next...
Not dead.
No, not dead. Our next game is Trials of Mana.
Yeah, super exciting. Like I said, my goal is to finish the Mana series before the next 14 expansion comes out, because that's going to be a beefy chunk of game.
When does that come out? October?
Fall. Whatever fall is. So probably October.
October, November-ish.
Yeah, they traditionally come out in like June. It's like always been in the summer, but I guess
COVID.
COVID probably pushed it back.
Coco Viddy Vids, people working at home.
Yeah, the Cofeef 19 pushed it back.
Cofefe.
But yeah, so we'll get it though, and we got the shit in between the last expansion and this expansion to do as well.
We got to go through that's a lot of Mana games, bruh.
It's like what, the PS1, the PS2. So we got the Switch 1, the PS1, the PS2, and then what, 2 more DS?
Would you like to look at the list? We can look at the list. I'll pull it up. I'll pull the motherfucker up, guys. You know what? People they don't get episodes with us as much, so we might as well just fuck around for 25 minutes here.
Yeah.
Okay, master list. We are on Mana Series Part 2. So we have Trials of Mana, we have Legend of Mana, Children of Mana, Dawn of Mana, Heroes of Mana, and that's what we got. That's 5 30-hour RPGs. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to be interrupted in the middle of Mana again.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I could probably do it. But we're not talking about me alone here. We're talking about both of us. And who knows? Who knows what happens with my life in the next couple months?
Yeah, 6 is a lot. 5, I was thinking nothing. But 6, that's a scarier number than 5. I mean...
No, it's 5. It's 5. We have 5.
Secret of Mana.
We did Secret of Mana.
Oh, did we? Oh, no, yeah, you're right. We did. Because we started it, and then we got sidetracked for a year and a half. And now we're back.
So, it's Trials of Mana.
Fuck.
And then the other ones, the other 4.
Trials is the number 3, right?
Yeah,
that's the
one that's the one I'm starting tomorrow. Yeah, Trials of Mana. It's the last one in our collection.
Yeah,
and we have Legend of Mana. And so I can't start the next game until I get back into Utah. So that'll be mid to late April. So we'll try to beat Legend of Mana by mid to late April.
Wait, you can't play it until you're back?
No, I can play Legend. I can play the one you sent me on the PSP, a.k.a. the one that's going to be replayed, but not the one after that.
Well, Children is a DS game. Dawn of Mana is the PS2.
I don't have my DS.
Ah, you bastard.
Sorry, I didn't foresee this.
You didn't foresee progress.
No, oddly enough, no. We had
a moment.
Well, actually, I thought I was going to be visiting every once in a while. That was like part of my plan. I thought I was going to go back, but then I was like, I might as well get a second job and make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not doing anything. There's nothing to do here. I really can't afford to ski. I'm going to go ski once before the season is over. But that's what people do here.
Yeah.
Rich as fuck people live on the hill or come in from out of town, and then they ski for a shitload of money. And that's like the economy. That's what brings in the money to the town. Which is why the town has so many fucking amenities. It's like free internet for the whole town, free bus system for the whole town, you know? And it has like a million snow plows, so as soon as it snows, like the roads are clear. Like, it's really great. It's a really great fucking place. But it's because it has like 5,000 people, and yet like $1 billion comes in a year. They're like, what are we doing with all this tax money?
It's run by tourists, skiers, and James Hetfield. So,
yeah, which I haven't seen still. I don't know if I saw him, like he's wearing a mask.
You'd probably be able to tell.
Yeah, if I was paying attention, I usually avert my eyes.
You don't want to see James? Is that why you avert your eyes? Or is the mask? Does the mask like intone like some weird sexual desire within you, and you're like, ooh, just
well,
the
I'm also
eyes.
thinking like he would see my car with the big Metallica sticker parked outside and be like, I'm not going to the store today.
Yeah. No.
I was like, should I take the sticker off my car in case I pass James Hetfield on the 3 streets that are in here?
Yeah.
You gotta know there's someone being like, there's some Utah car that keeps zipping up and down every single fucking day, James. There's some Utah car with a Megadeth and a Metallica sticker on there. You better watch out. He might be here to stalk you.
Yeah. He's probably going to try to kill you. So be careful.
Oh, not kill, but probably rape.
Yeah. And then you just pull the Metallica sticker off as you have him tied down. You're like, I was a Megadeth fan all along. No! No!
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty bad.
We're going to get a 1-star review for that type of humor.
Rape humor is not funny. Even if it's
ironic.
Giant...
I would never do my James Hetfield. I would allow him to fuck me, but
yeah, other way around.
I would never fuck James Hetfield. Yeah, unless he asked.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Consensual.
I would do it. Yeah, I would let
fucking of James Hetfield. Yeah.
And I would do it if he asked me to. You know, I would do anything he wants.
Uh-oh, now you're making the stalker come true.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, I haven't seen him.
That's too bad. That's really
too bad. I haven't seen Michael Bloomberg either. He's got a house over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other rock stars, I guess, that I don't really know. But you could go on Wikipedia and be like, who lives in Vail, Colorado? And a whole bunch of people with Wikipedia pages pops up.
Yeah.
But not mine.
That's annoying. You're out there and everyone's wearing a mask, so you could have even passed them and not noticed. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, well, but also, like, I work at night and I don't see human beings except for, like, a small period of time when I'm grocery shopping.
That's true.
Or doing laundry. So, in addition to that, stupid other things, Schweiss, I got an Amazon Alexa, and it keeps on popping up an advertisement saying, this podcast has 10,000 listeners. Shut the fuck up, Alexa, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, 10,000 listeners, huh? That's all it takes in order to get a little advertisement that pops up on here? Not happy about that.
Yeah.
It's like, where's our show?
Yeah.
What about our 10,000 listeners?
Yeah, Alexa. How about our million, billion, hugely numbers listeners?
Hugely numbers podcast. Unless it was...
Oh, shit.
What the fuck?
She's explaining a million, billion. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Should never say her name. Do never say her name.
Yeah.
or else she's summoned.
Yeah, call her by your name. That's what the Alexa movie is.
Should be peach colored.
Oh man.
Oh, it's so gross.
I know.
Also with the Army, have you heard the Army Hammer news?
No.
Oh, he's been accused of something bizarre. Real bizarre. Real fucking weird, bro. And like he was dropped from his agency and shit. They were like freaking out about it. Some of it's like the usual sexual harassment stuff. But let's add in a little bit of cannibalistic a fantasy in there.
Nice.
Like eating parts of toes is something he has requested, apparently. That's what I thought I read. Don't quote me on that.
Nice.
Crazy. That was my thing with that movie, with Call Me By Your Name. It was very clear that he was not gay.
Yeah.
When you're watching that movie. Like, there's a part where he, like, grabs the teenage child's crotch, because, of course, that movie's also about... what kind of rape is that? What is that again? Statutory.
Yeah,
statutory rape.
rape.
That's also what the movie's about. Even though it's romantic, apparently. He grabs the guy's crotch, and he's like, look at him like, yeah, I grabbed your crotch. In a wide shot, and that's the part of the movie where it was like, Armie Hammer did not want to do that scene and looks uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he's like, I really just want to eat it instead. That's now what I'm thinking. It's like, well, how about he takes a knife and chops off his dick and then fries it and then eats it?
Oh, yeah, the cannibal thing. Yeah.
This is all alleged, though, of course.
The legend of Armie Hammer.
Alleged legend of Armie Hammer.
Yeah. Third-hand legends of real people.
That's right.
The podcast.
All right, guys. I've derailed this enough, so I guess we should probably end it. We'll see you guys next time.
Till then, enjoy the grind.